I was watching a video on YouTube the other day from This Is Not Compute, I think the YouTube channel was. And basically it was the question of the video, or the title of the video was, are cassettes coming back, you know? And the premise of the video is, are they coming back or are they dead? Well, I don't know. See, I'm quite a fan of the old audio cassette. I grew up, I'm an 80s kid, so I was born early 80s. So audio cassettes were the go-to. You had a lot of your music on vinyl records. I call them records. I don't call them vinyls. I don't know. I just never got into that sort of hip naming scheme. But, the round black plastic things, they're records. I always found, because basically, the choice was radio, records, or cassettes. And more often than not, the cassettes sounded better than the records for what consumers were playing them on. End of the day, they're a crap audio cassette. Playback decks, and also much crappier recording decks, especially if you've got the little high-speed dubbing button. But as someone who grew up before CDRs, before you could rip your music from a CD to the computer and then, pick out your songs as you wanted to and then chuck them back on a blank CD, we were using these things, audio tapes. And they're brilliant. They're an awesome technology. By the time I was old enough to understand what they were, you could make good copies, really, really good copies. At the end of the day, you could also have made really shit copies if you're doing it on one of those little cheap PYE Pi cassette recorder type things. But, they weren't all that bad, even back in the 80s. My mum was married to a bloke who had a full rack JVC system, which had a really awesome cassette deck. It had Dolby B, C, it had auto reverse, which some people like, auto reverse is bad, but anyway, who cares? There was an EQ, it had a really good tuner. The cassette deck was awesome, actually. For a late 80s machine, it done a really, really, really good job. And I remember going back from sitting at the dinner table because we'd always have the radio on. And a really good song had come on the radio. It's like, shit. Mind you, I'm like 8, so shit wasn't the word. But, you're like, damn, I want to get a copy of that song. So you'd run to the stereo system. You'd have a tape in there because I was usually the only one using it. So you'd have a tape in there, and it's like record, play. You turn on, record, play, done. You'd wait for the song to play it, and then you'd stop it. You'd miss the little bit at the beginning of the song, but as soon as the song plays, it's like, shit, I'm going to go from the dinner table to the tape deck, hit the record button and be done with it. There's no mucking around. There's no setting up record levels, because generally where you left them last time is where they're going to be anyway. And at the end of the song, you'd go up, you'd stop it, and you'd have that song. You may not want to have the song for any other reason, but because you've got a copy of it. And mind you, at this point in time, I was recording it off AM radio, but that's where all the good music was. But audio cassette's brilliant. Even today, in 2018, I still use audio tape. This here is a CD player. That's all it does. It plays audio CDs. It doesn't play MP3s or anything like that. In fact, if I grab a... there's already an audio CD in it. So if I close that, hit play, it'll automatic, there's no delay because it is just a straight CD player. This here is a cassette deck, has all sorts of fancy features and stuff, but that's not the point. What I like about audio cassette is, and I've done this recently, is I can make a mixtape, pop it in, pour up a drink, I'm listening to music. you know. And it knows where I left it. I can take it out. I can grab another tape from up here, pop it in the player, hit close, play. You know, it just works. But where I think audio cassette rules over records, vinyls, whatever, is you go on anything. You go on eBay or you go into your used record stores, like the one in Brisbane or one of the ones in Brisbane. If you wanted to buy an album on vinyl of an artist, even one that's been out of print for forever, you're looking at minimum $5-10 if it's in, you know, kind of not so good condition, anywhere up to 30, 50, 80. I mean, I've seen on eBay, there's in-box, you know, brand new unplayed albums on record for, you know, upwards of $100, where I can go on eBay, I can buy a lot. Like if I search eBay for audio cassette lot, I can get a whole stack of audio cassettes for less than $1 each. And if you're browsing through the listings and there's albums that you actually want to pick up, they're brilliant. I mean, like for instance, this here's America. I don't know what this is worth on vinyl, but I've got it on audio cassette. You know, and I can pick it up and chuck it in the machine, hit play, and oh, by the way, that's at least a 90s copy of that because it's using that style. You know, that cost me next to nothing. You're paying heaps for that on vinyl. And then you can search for compilation albums like these 100% hits, which were all big when I was a kid. In my teens, 100% hits were the thing. There was 100% hits went up against smash hits, and they released a shitload of these. And just through doing some research on eBay and buying lots of these, or, you know, lot collections of audio cassettes, I've ended up with at least 6 or 8 of these 100% hits, which all have pretty decent songs on it. I mean, you're talking 90s stuff, you know. You know, you're talking about your 90s stuff. And then you've got, get rid of, you know, if I go through all these, see, even little compilation tapes like these. I love the compilation stuff. While I like hearing one artist, I don't enjoy it so much. I actually prefer to have a variety. And while, yeah, you can do this with YouTube and stuff these days, sometimes it's just pretty cool just to chuck in some tunes. You know, and if you're running an auto reverse deck like I do, your music just, you know, they can go for ages, and you basically, there's no thought process. You don't have to go selecting a playlist or whatever. You just get your tape out of your thing, you chuck it in, you hit play, and then, you know, if you're, we're going that way today, or not. But basically, if you've got your audio cassette, oh, I put it the wrong way around. Anyway, so you've got, you know, you can find compilations of, you know, an hour, 2 hours of music. Like in this one, you're basically your 80s music. I don't know. I just think audio cassette's brilliant. It's one of these formats that it may not sound absolutely awesome or whatever, but there's so much you can find on it for next to nothing because it's a technology that's not kind of like the original Nintendo Entertainment System went from absolutely popular to, you know, cash converters $10 to absolutely popular again because nostalgia. Audio cassettes may or may not get to that point. It doesn't matter. I enjoy them. I find them actually. I'd hope to. I hope they don't get to the point where they become a nostalgia thing, because I can buy all these audio cassettes for next to nothing, or I can make my own using blank tapes. And you don't have to be gentle with them. They don't care. They're designed to be rugged. And they absolutely are. I mean, the only time you really kill these is either put them near something that'll wipe them, which is okay because you can just re-record them, or crushing them, which is a bad idea, or sunlight, which once you got to the 90s, even your blank audio cassettes could deal with a fair bit of heat. And they don't mind being thrown around. It won't upset the magnetic material on the actual tape itself anyway. So who cares? And then at the end of the day, chuck them all back in their cases, put them back on the collection, and start again. I think audio cassettes deserve to be liked for what they are. A very good technology for the time, which superseded what they were actually originally designed for, but became so convenient, so ubiquitous, that everything could use them. But, yeah, I like the audio cassette. I mean, you look at CD. I mean, these days it's so much easier. I mean, you just go on the internet, download a FLAC archive of a disc, burn it to a blank disc, and off you go. But I don't know, there's just something about audio cassettes, whether it's making mixtapes, whether it's buying cheap-ass albums, where, you know, these have all been purchased by someone at full price at some point in their life, and they're now just disowned, except now I've got them and I actually use them. So, I don't know, it's good just to give them a new lease of life. Anyway, that's all my thing. Bye.